Ask questions like, what did you see? What did you hear? What did you smell? Think about that. Well, let's ask them some questions that you might not read about. Okay? I'm going to open it up. Jerry?
I got a question for all the survivors. Each one of you at one time. Tell us what you were, what you said. Each one of you got one.
Tell us where you were when the torpedoes hit and how you got off the ship. That would be for our 4 survivors. Go ahead.
My housekeeping area was conning tower. That is a fortified place right beneath the bridge. My watch was always on the bridge. My battle station was to put on the headphones and listen to all the people report throughout the ship, and I reported to the captain. So I slept in conning tower. That was my housekeeping area, and that's where I stayed and was sleeping the night the torpedoes hit. It lifted me clear off of the deck, and I jumped up, looked at my watch, and it was 10 minutes after midnight. I had an old watch that I had purchased off of another sailor, and he said, now be very careful, because when you pick it up, if you don't hold your finger under it, the insides will fall out. And this played a role because the next morning, when I was fortunate to find a life raft, I looked at my watch. It was all full of water, and it had stopped at 20 minutes after. So 10 minutes had elapsed. And when they said the ship sank in 12 minutes, it was pretty highly accurate because it had not completely sunk when I got on. It was pretty far down. And I came off the side of the ship all the way down. I came up a 40-millimeter gun barrel as it rolled over and started down. I went up the barrel, and that's how I got off the ship. I swam away from the ship and watched it sink.
I was up on top side, I guess, in a galley. I was a cooking baker, and when it first one went, it kind of knocked me out off my cot that I was sleeping on in the issue room. So I got up and got dressed right away and kind of stood around and wondered what happened. It sounded pretty severe, but I didn't know if it was until it made a list to the starboard, and that didn't quite, wasn't bad enough. I thought we wasn't going to sink surely. And another cook came to me, and we kind of stopped at a galley and stood there and waited until the next list was pretty severe. So we got out of there, and I headed up with him to the next deck. And on that, it was leaning over the side that you couldn't walk the ladder. You had to pull yourself up on the handles or the rails of the ladder because it was leaning over that far when I started to get off the ship. And on the way up, there was a bosun mate that was passing out Cape Out life jackets. So I was tickled to death that I found him, and because I didn't know how to swim in the first place, I guess, and it had a tube that you had to put air in it after you hit the water. I always wondered, what am I going to do when I come to that point? And that was coming pretty fast until I got that cape on, and that felt a lot better. And went down, and I swam or paddled away with my cape on and ways, and then I turned back and saw saw the fantail of the ship go straight up and straight down. That's how I got off of the ship.
I was on duty that night until about, supposed to be on until 1:45, and my relief didn't come till midnight, and I had time to go back to the head, which was back at the rear superstructure, just behind there, close to the number 3 turret.
I think you need to explain to the kids what the head is.
Well, that's the restroom. Anyway, I was in there when the ship got hit, and of course I saw some smoke come by from the front where had the flash fire, and I run back on the fantail where the rear 40 millimeters were, and that's where the Marines manned that 40 millimeter group back there. And I grabbed a life jacket and went back to my general quarters station, which was just below the rear superstructure. And the ship was already taking water on the hangar deck, which is in the middle of the ship. And I said to this friend of mine, I said, I think this thing's going to sink. We better get off of here. And so we both scooted down the port side, and I jumped off of what you call a bilge keel. It's welded on just in the area where the ship turns down to the keel to kind of help balance it. And of course I had all my clothes on because I hadn't had time to get to my bunk, which was down in the fantail. We got in the water and in the oil, and we threw up and all that kind of good stuff, and we got away from the ship because the ship was still moving. And we looked back, and just about like you see it in the movie, it went down with the bow and the screws up in the air. And after we got rescued, I asked one of the other guys who was in the radar gang where I was, because he'd had appendicitis operation about 2 weeks before that. And he said, well, I didn't get off till the thing was going down. And he said he jumped down through the screws, and he never hit anything and never got hurt. And, you can't hardly imagine how you could go down through 4 screws that are turning over and not get hit by one of them. About the first night we were out in the water, I felt something nudge me, and I looked to see what it was and grabbed it, and it was a potato floating in the water. So I stuck it in my pocket and hung on to it for a while, and I finally ended up eating it, and that's all I had between eating it and the water. I didn't have any water at all for those 4 days and 5 nights. I lost about 20 pounds, and of course after we got out of the base hospital at Guam, they sent us up to the rest camp, and I think in the short time we were up at the rest camp, I gained all the 20 pounds back, because I watched some of the guys going through the chow line, and I wondered what they were doing. They weren't taking anything. Well, they sent full pies in a tin down on the table and a gallon of ice cream, and that's what those guys were eating. They're eating pie and ice cream. But anyway, I have saltwater lesions on my arms, and I was actually sort of picked up by the PBY that Adrian Marks landed in the water. I got in a life raft that the planes had dropped, and I was tied up beside Adrian Marks' plane. I didn't get aboard because there was so many men on board, and I zonked out in a life raft right beside the plane. I don't know when I was rescued, and later years I asked Adrian about it. I said I was out in that life raft. And he said, well, they picked you up last because they thought you were dead. And that's basically what happened to me